Well, I've successfully arrived in the US and it's time to build the shocks. So safely they made it here fine, all my gear made it here fine. And we're ready to oil these up and get them on the car. So what I'm using is a 3-hole by 1.4 piston in the front and a 2 by 1.7 in the rear. These are fairly standard piston setups for what we run on the B6D. Now these are for my spare car that I'll be running at OCRC, and I'll build up the shocks for the outdoor race the day of. So I'm using the Team Associated 32.5 weight oil and just the J Concepts shock stand there. So pretty much what I'll do is put the shocks in the car stand with the shock shaft at full stroke, and then usually put the front shocks at the front, rear shocks at the rear, and I'll fill them up with oil. And so what I'm doing is I'm filling it up to about 5 ml before the oil gets to the top. Both front and rear shock. Then what I'll do is I'll take the shocks out and compress the shaft all the way up and let them sit. That way, just letting any air come to the top, and then I'll leave them there for about a good minute or two. Okay, so now that the shock itself is sat, we've let all the air come to the top, it's time just to get all the air bubbles out. Because these are an emulsion shock, and emulsion shock means that you need air in the shock to actually work, by removing every single little bit of air, the shock won't run properly. It'll hydrolock on full compression or give you way too much rebound. So don't be too scared of having air in the shock or bubbles in the shock, because it's actually what it needs to run. I know guys that use shock pumps with emulsion shocks, and it's just it's not needed in my opinion. So now that they've sat, I'll basically twist the piston as it goes down, and you'll see very little air actually come up, because what we've done is we've taken the piston higher than the level of the oil. We've let all of the air come up to underneath the piston, and then we slowly pull it down, twisting, making sure any air goes through the piston holes. I'll get a little bit closer. You can see just a few little bubbles come up. Same again. I will apologise for the lighting. It's hotel room lighting with my pit light, so do excuse that. Now once I've put the shaft back to full stroke, I'll top off the shocks till they're just level with the top of the shock body, slightly bubbled over, but not pouring over the sides. What I'll do then is grab each shock and just small little strokes up and down, only going to about half stroke, not allowing any of the oil to come over the side of the shock, just to get any of that last little minute air that may be trapped under the piston or large bubbles out. Do that for all 4 shocks. That'll get any of the air out that you may have missed. We're not too concerned though. Then what we'll do is we'll just let them sit for another minute or two. At the track you may not have the luxury of doing and letting them sit. It's completely fine just to chuck the shock cap back on and get building, but because these are new, we're just going to let them sit for a bit, and then we'll put the cap on. Okay, so now the shocks have settled, we'll get these caps on. So the caps are empty, I don't fill them with oil, there's no real need to. And I'll just chuck the cap on and twist it down, and then you'll see a little bit of oil come out, the bleed there. That's why you don't need to put any oil in the cap, because putting oil in there just, it'll come out and you'll waste quite a fair amount. So basically what I'll do is I'll grab the associated shock end tool, chuck that on there, just use a wrench and give it a little twist just to tighten the cap down. Make sure that it's completely tight. Then I'll wipe it down. Now the number one issue that I've seen with shock cap bleed hole screws stripping is when you're putting your bleed screw in, making sure that the recess there where the screw sits is completely clear of oil. I know a lot of guys that will build it and it'll still be filled with oil, and it's just a really easy and quick way to strip out the shock cap itself. So now that that's clean, I'll put it down and do all 4 shocks like that. Alright, so we're ready to bleed the shocks now. The front ones I'll start with. I usually start with the front, doesn't matter which ones. So basically what I'll do is use a rag or a towel or something that you don't really care about getting dirty, and I'll slowly push up the shock shaft and you'll see oil coming out there. Wipe it down while still holding the shock shaft completely compressed, cleaning that out, and that recess there is nice and clear, clean, and we're at full compression. Once you've done that, chuck in the bleed screw. I already have it, I have them ready on the end of the tip there. Chuck it in while still holding the shaft at full compression. All the way in, and then there you go. What I'll do after that is a few pumps. Then put that one away. Do the same for the rear. So screw on, rear, start bleeding, oil's coming out, slowly compress all the way up. Now it's key to hold the shock on a slight angle, not dead flat, dead vertical. You want to hold it on a slight angle with the bleed screw hole facing upward. And then same when installing the bleed screw. That's in, and then a few pumps. What you'll find is it'll have a bit of rebound on the first build. Then, once you've pumped it a few times, then take the bleed screw back out, and then we'll re-bleed again. Same process, and this time some more comes out. Cleaning, bleed screw back on, few pumps, next to no rebound. There you go. That's how you build a team associated 12mm big bore shock ready to throw on the car. So we'll repeat that process for all 4 components, all 4 shocks, and we're good to throw them on the car and hit the track.